Today in the Book Lab, we're going to be taking a look at changing Ninjago City to give Kai his own bachelor pad. So as far as I'm concerned, Ninjago City is pretty much a perfect set. In fact, my only complaint with it is the unused space, like the construction site. But I do like that tree, and rather than removing it entirely, which would have been a shame, I just replanted it on the other side of Ninjago City, so that it's now bursting out through that decorative window. I made sure to attach it securely using extra parts from the construction site, so that it's locked in place securely. You can move it around at any position, and it's not going to fall out on you, which is a plus. And it looks great as well. It neatly fits in the gap between those two buildings. As for the construction site, I went ahead and turned that into an apartment for Kai, since he's the only street clothes ninja in the set, and it gives him, Jay, and Lloyd a place to hang out, and the other ninja too, but they're not included in the set, so we'll stick with those three for now. Now I am going to be using this version of street clothes Kai for this build because self-promotion. Sue me. No wait, don't. JK, LOL. Jokes, bro. Jokes. So the apartment does use some bricks from the construction site, like some of the ones around the window and this roof here, but most of the parts did have to be brick-linked because this is an entirely new apartment, and it did use a lot of parts that also weren't found in the construction site. Don't be sad, because a lot of these parts can be found on Bricklink for fairly cheap. Now as we can see here, the apartment is, from the outside, mostly the same as Lloyd's. We can see there's this roof outside the window, and then the window with the golden shutters, and like these slopey things outside. I don't know, some kind of decoration. And then if we move around to the side, we can see an abnormally large amount of tan. There's a reason for that. We'll get into it in a little bit. And along back here, we can see a window screen with a traditional Ninjago printed design on it. I thought about doing a window that was exactly the same as Lloyd's, but in the end decided this would be a lot easier, and it would give Kai his own unique apartment. And, well, I was kind of just lazy. I didn't feel like bricklinking all those parts, but enough of that. So in order to get inside Kai's apartment, all we need to do is pull off Lloyd's apartment, and then simply pull off this wall panel here. And the first thing we see is Kai in bed. Now, his bed is pretty simple. It's just a little futon there. I didn't put too much effort into designing it, since I figured the ninja probably aren't going to spend much time in there anyway, and I pretty much just threw it in for sake of completeness. So let's take a closer look inside Kai's apartment. Here we can see the shelves which Kai uses to store his junk, like the relics from past adventures, a realm crystal, and an ice shuriken, as well as a frog. Apparently frogs are pretty popular in Ninjago City, and it only makes sense that Kai would have a red one. A gaming tile here. It's a 1x2 tile from Nexonites. I think it might be actually a control panel, but it works just as well as a game system. And also we have a radio here, which is exactly like the one that Lloyd has by his bed in the apartment above, which means that Kai and Lloyd can use them to either keep in touch with each other or maybe get their secret Ninja Force mission updates from Wu. I don't know. This is where imagination comes in. And also on the table here, we can see there's a bowl. This comes from the Pajamas Garmadon minifigure, and a spoon over here on the windowsill. And in the corner, just for decoration, we have a nice little plant. And hanging on the wall is a blueprint for the head of the mech dragon. Now I realize that Lloyd's the one that pilots the mech dragon, but since he lives in the same apartment as his mom, he kinda can't keep those stored in that apartment, because sooner or later, she'd be bound to stumble across them, and then Lloyd would have some explaining to do. And over in this corner here, we can see a little dresser and a little Kai mini doll, action figure sitting on top of it. And also we have this little golden plate here with Kai's traditional elemental design. It also seems like the kind of touch that Kai would have in his apartment. And to finish out our tour of the inside of Kai's apartment, we'll turn to the far wall here. Here we can see that window printing, which looks pretty cool with the light shining through it. And we also have Kai's weapon rack here with some weapons on it, namely a sword, a staff type thingy, or spear, something, I don't know. I just threw it into there to fill out the weapons rack. And a jade blade from another adventure of Kai's that he probably remembers pretty fondly. Well, the movie version might not, but it's a nice callback to an earlier time in Ninjago. So Kai's apartment is pretty cool, but by far my favorite feature is that Kai can also tuck away his ninja suit just like Lloyd can. Lloyd's ninja suit hides away out of sight up in the attic of his home, and Kai's ninja suit can be stuck away in a similar fashion. And the way he hides it is by sticking it to the wall. Now if you see this pull away wall panel here, which we removed earlier to get our first glimpse into Kai's apartment, we notice that it has a bracket on this side, and that's there so that Kai can just plug his ninja suit in, and then we can reattach that, and boom, his suit is tucked away out of sight. And the best part is that this suit fits in place even with Lloyd's apartment put back in on top of it. So we can see here, if we put that in and pull it out, see, Kai's suit stays perfectly in place. That about wraps up our look at Kai's apartment, but before we go, there's one more thing. How does Kai get into his apartment? Well, duh, through the front door, but where does that lead? Well, nowhere. Well, it used to lead nowhere, but I added in this handy little walkway, and now Kai can easily step across to the gift shop, boutique next door. I also had to unbar that door and so that Kai could actually get through and he wouldn't be jammed up. You wouldn't want minifigures stumbling across a construction site, so that's why it was barred off. But I just unbarred it, and now there's easy passage between the two. So here's a quick look at the inside of the gift shop, just to show the changes I had to make here. And honestly, there weren't that many. All I had to do was unbar the door, then move the counter so that instead of blocking the door, it's right in front of the door, and boom, now all Kai has to do is walk in through the entrance here, boom, out through the exit here. And he's home free. And as a final touch, since apparently I can't stop blabbing about Ninjago City, I also added in a few extra lanterns. There's one here outside the door to Kai's apartment, and another one here underneath the grate that leads to the gift shop. They just added a nice little touch, and so I tossed them in as a little extra. Anyway, that about wraps it up for a look at Ninjago City and Kai's apartment. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, and do all that other good stuff. If you'd like more build tutorials, custom minifigures, and all that other stuff, feel free to stay tuned because we have more on the way. I am Sam, and I will see you next time.